Ni hao. Thanks everybody for coming for the speech. So the topic of the speech is Sextags and the city, or localizing a long-term game project Megapolis. I hope nobody was embarrassed by the first word in the topic. I'll just tell you a little bit later what it's all about. So let's get acquainted. My name is Dmitrii Antonov. I work as a localization manager at All Correct Group. Our company was founded in 2006, and it is specializing in software and game localization. And our main focus are European and Asian languages, but actually we work with more than 40 languages on a daily basis. So we have proven record with big clients, more than 100, and we have already localized more than 350 games. And among them is one of my personally favorite one, and the one that I'm gonna tell you about today. And I would like to begin with some small video to get to you the impression of the game that we localized. Okay, sound. Of course, suppose it won't be the sound. Okay, thanks. Okay, thank you. I hope everybody have caught all the localized phrases inside the game trailer. So this is the content of the speech. I will begin with some general information about the project, about the game developer, and about the game itself. Then I will tell you about the three main services that we provided for the customer, for the developer of the game, and then I will share with you some best practices, how to achieve a good localization of a game. So, general information. According to the PocketGamer.biz, Social Quantum reached the place number 32 according to top 50 developers in 2014, and as mentioned here, its key game is Megapolis. Megapolis is a city building game, and it is #1 economic strategy game in 20 countries, and it has 10 million players of audience and 1 million hits a day. It is presented on two social networks, Facebook and Vkontakte, which is a very famous Russian local social network. And it has a mobile platform. It is present on iOS, Windows Phone, and Android. So in 2012, Social Quantum decided to promote its game in 20 countries, and they decided to choose us, All Correct Group, as the main provider for game localizations. The main development language is Russian, and then this game was translated into English and 10 other languages. So during our collaboration, the amount of words reached almost 4 million number, and the number of people participating inside the project reached the number of 39, including editors, translators, and project manager. So the first service that we provided to the customer, to the developer, was localizing of game text. And we can, here is the workflow of it. First, we localized all the text from Russian into English. Then went a very crucial step of it. An employee from the developer side checked all the texts that were translated from Russian into English, suggested some corrections to it, and all this and this step prevented those issues to come out to other languages on the third stage when English texts were translated into 10 other languages. So localization of the main text can be divided into two main groups. Social Quantum had already had some text translated by the other vendor. They were in English, Spanish, French, and Portuguese Brazil. And we translated this game from scratch into Japanese, Chinese simplified, Turkish, German, and Italian. And the first thing that we decided to do was the quality assurance of those texts that the client had already, and this checking showed out that the quality was low. Formal style was detected, and semantic and grammatical errors. Talking about the formal style, in video games, the informal style of translating is very crucial, though English is not so style sensitive, and as it does not have differences for the pronouns between formal and informal style. As you can see here on the greeting starting page of the game, for the English version, there is the pronoun yo, which is used for both formal and informal style. But meanwhile, for the other languages like Russian, German, and French, it is very crucial to use the informal style that has strict rules for it. Of course, during the localization project, we face a lot of problems. To solve which, we have to use all our creativeness, and one of them was the implementing of the so-called Sextag. It looks like this in the text of the game, and it adapts the text according to the gender of the player. Here you can see how the system worked out for the female user. It just put the pronoun her, and this is how it works for the male user. It just put the pronoun him. Why it is so important to use such text, some such adapting text? Because they really make the text to talk to the player like a living person, more personally. And it's mostly crucial to use them in timeline posting, because what is a timeline posting? These are the texts that invite new users to come, to stay in the game and to buy stuff. So what we eventually have out of it pleased the developers with money and pleased players. So since we have started to talk about the money, we asked the developer to give us some rating of the languages according to the profit that they gave. So on the first place was English, on the second German and Japanese, and some other languages gave them just a little bit less profit, but that concerns mostly, it depends on the game genre, really. So the two main instruments that we use to maintain quality, there are a lot of them, frankly, but there are two main. The first one is the environment that we use for our translators that they work in. It is called Memoc, the so-called CAT tool, Computer Assistant Translation System, with the translation memory support. And the second one is the style guide that we fill always in with our customers, with the developers before every project, where we put all the information about the platform that the text will be used on, the treatment of the title of the game, some limits for for characters, for the strings, etc. So the second service that we provide to the customer was localization testing, and this is the workflow of it. It all was organized through the task tracking management system called Redmine, and the developer made a new ticket for the new update of the game. Then the testers played the very place of the game and reported the bugs. All the bugs can be divided into two groups: localizational bugs and functional bugs. So this is the example of the localizational bug. The testers see all the text inside the interface of the game. That's why they can sometimes suggest some modification for it. And here we can see that the tester for the Turkish language suggested just to modify a little bit the name of the building. to add the word complex to it. And this is the example of the functional bug. Here we can see that the ribbon covers the title, the name of the building. So the tester suggests the developers just to reduce the size of the ribbon, but actually they decided on another way. They just moved a little bit to the right the name of the building. And so out of this, out of the localization testing service, the customer had two bonuses. The thing is that usually functional testing is a separate service, and which should be charged. But we did that for them for free because a tester can make a few more bugs, as we suppose. And actually, after 2 years, the customer stopped testing. But the thing was not that we provide the bad service. The thing was that we were just so super good at the stage of translating that this stage didn't reveal any errors in the end. And the last but not least, the third one service that we provided to the customer was game community support. It can be divided into two main sub-services. The first one is support for users in their local language. Since the developer could understand only English and Russian, we translated all the questions that the players asked the developer in their local language. For example, in Pontus, Brazil, we translated it into English. Then the developer answered the questions to them, and then we translated it back to the original language of the question. And the second sub-service was collecting information from the players about the presence of localization errors. There was a special forum where players could post some message about the suspected place, about the localization error inside it, and we validated all those posts. And if it turned out to be valid, the player got 5 units of in-game currency called Megabucks, and we of course fixed the text for free. Again, there were two bonuses that the customer had out of that service that we provided to them. The first one was that they eventually made the multilingual FAQ document, and that covered most of the questions of the players. And the second one was also after 2 years they decided to stop. We decided to stop that service because the number of posts that the players had on the forums has decreased so crucially. It just means that we were good at the quality of the translation. So we asked the customer for the feedback for our work, and they proved the opinion that All Correct played a good role in the success of Megapolis as a game, as a multi-language game. And to sum it all up, I would like to share with you some best practices how to achieve a good localization for a game. So the first one is that if you change the vendor and you have some texts from the previous one, you should always do the quality assurance of the previous texts, just not to waste your future texts because of them. The second one is don't save money on testing. It is especially crucial when you launch the game. In any way it can be stopped if the quality of the translation keeps good. Make a community support system. Players do like it, really. You can always make an FAQ after some time, an FAQ document, and this can be also stopped after a while, of course, if the quality of the translation is good. Give an employee from the developer side to be always online to help the localizators, to help the translators to answer all their questions concerning the technical parts and other things. Use the task tracking management system like Redmine, Jira, Oracle, or any of them. It just makes a good, it just improves the way of efficiency of all the processes. Okay. And of course, give this work to professional localizers. They know how to make the game speak to the players in their native languages in the best way. And the last thing is that in Megapolis there are a lot of equivalents of real buildings, and I just checked, and it turned out that Chengdu is not an exception. Here is in Chengdu, there is Mingyu Financial Plaza, and it is presented in the game. So for those who are for the first time in Chengdu, they can go and just visit that place. Thank you. That's all. Thank you.